In every corner of the world, there are ancient objects that have baffled historians, archaeologists, and scientists for centuries. Whether through their inexplicable origins, unusual materials, or their purpose, these objects continue to challenge our understanding of history. In this episode, we'll uncover some of the most mysterious and awe-inspiring ancient objects ever discovered. Join us as we dive into the mystery behind these ancient wonders, exploring the stories and theories that surround them. Get ready for a journey through history's most mysterious objects on Fireside Unsolved, episode 165. 5 Mysterious Ancient Objects. In a quiet patch of German woodland, just off a nondescript road between the towns of Lübeck and Mönchengladbach, stands a pillar that shouldn't exist. It's not marked, no signs lead to it. Most people pass by without ever knowing it's there. But buried half in the ground, worn down and weathered from centuries of exposure, stands a mysterious artifact known only as Eiserner Mann, or the Iron Man. It's a solid column of iron, driven into the earth with no known origin. Standing roughly 1.2 meters tall, or about 4 feet, the object appears almost industrial, like a leftover piece of modern machinery. But records of it date back to at least the 17th century. And some believe it could be much older. There are no seams, no visible tool marks, no record of it ever being forged, transported, or installed. Just a heavy iron monolith in the middle of a forest. What makes Eiserner Mann even stranger is the material. Unlike typical iron exposed to the elements for hundreds of years, it hasn't corroded into oblivion. Made of pig iron, there is very little rust to be found on it at all. Some researchers suspect it could be a medieval boundary marker. Others think it might be an anchor from some long-lost structure. But none of those theories quite explain how it was manufactured, or how it ended up here, completely isolated, with no ruins, no foundry, and no other ironwork nearby. The pillar is marked with a sign that reads, "The Iron Man is a piece of a poured pig iron ingot. It is approximately 2.18 meters long, and about 1 meter of its T-shaped end is in the ground." This was apparently intended as an attachment point for transport and processing, and has until now, as an anchoring point, prevented any attempt at removing the ingot by force. Its porous surface and the uneven cross-section over its whole length are caused by the sandbed pouring technique. The technique and the form point to a date of manufacture in the late Middle Ages. Origin and original purpose of the Iron Man have not been explained satisfactorily. It has always been surrounded by numerous tales and legends, as well as pertinent and also obscure speculation. It was first mentioned in a document in 1625 as part of the borderline between Alfter and Heimersheim along the Roman aqueduct. According to a later source, it still fulfilled this function in 1717. Its former position cannot be located accurately anymore. It was not until 1727, under Prince Elector Clemens, that the Iron Man was placed in its present position. It served as a marker of the main planning line while expanding the system of paths for hunting between Augustsburg Palace in Brühl and Herzogsfreude Palace in Röttgen. Today, it is a popular meeting point among hikers. The technology required to forge such a piece, on that scale, should have left a larger trail behind. But it didn't, at least not in the immediate area. And so the Iron Man stands, silent, weathered, and unmoved. A forgotten monument to something we still don't understand. In the heart of Delhi, within the Qutba complex, there is a monument that doesn't call much attention to itself at first glance. It isn't covered in gold, it doesn't tower over the complex like a skyscraper. It's just a tall, slender column of iron, quiet, simple, unassuming. But for metallurgists, historians, and mystery seekers, it's an incredible relic of the past. The Iron Pillar of Delhi stands over 7 meters tall, or approximately 24 feet, and weighs more than 6 tons. It was forged more than 1,600 years ago, possibly during the reign of Chandragupta II, and it's been standing outdoors ever since. But here's the catch. It hasn't rusted, at all. In a city where air pollution corrodes modern steel in a matter of decades, this ancient iron column has resisted decay for over a millennium. The pillar carries inscriptions in Sanskrit, praising the achievements of a long-dead king. But the real achievement might be in the metal itself. Modern analysis shows the iron is nearly pure, unusually so, and includes traces of phosphorus that may have contributed to the protective layer it formed over time. Still, even with what we know about its composition, The scale and precision of its forging raise more questions than they answer. There is still little known about how ancient Indian metalworkers created the pillar without modern furnaces or machinery. It's a mystery how such a gigantic piece of iron was made so long ago, that's so massive and so resistant to the elements. No blueprint was ever found, no written record of the process, just the pillar. Some claim it's proof of lost knowledge. Others think it's a fluke of materials and the climate it's in. But whatever the truth is, the iron pillar still stands as a monument to an ancient composition of metals that is still not fully understood. It was called woven air. For centuries, Dhaka muslin was the most prized fabric in the world, a fabric so light it seemed to float. It came from Bengal, specifically from the region now known as Dhaka, Bangladesh. However, sometime in the 19th century, it disappeared, and no one has been able to recreate it since. Dhaka muslin wasn't just fabric, it was legend. Royals from Europe to the Mughal Empire draped themselves in it. Ancient Greek writers spoke of it. Napoleon's Josephine adored it. But what made it truly extraordinary was its impossible delicacy. A single piece could take months to weave, and it was made from a cotton so rare it only grew along a specific stretch of the Meghna River, under very specific climate conditions. It wasn't mass-produced. It was grown, spun, and woven by artisans who inherited the craft over generations. The cotton, known locally as Fudi Karpas, has since vanished, wiped out by colonial agricultural policies, changing trade routes, and the systematic destruction of Bengal's textile industry under British rule. When researchers thought about bringing it back in the 21st century, they couldn't, because the cotton no longer existed anywhere on Earth. The weaving technique had been lost. No one alive had touched the fabric with their own hands. Instead, they were only able to look at ghostly fragments in museums and faded portraits. And so Dhaka muslin remains one of history's softest mysteries, a lost material woven into memory. In 1936, deep in the ancient necropolis of Saqqara, Egyptologist Walter Bryan Emery uncovered the tomb of a young noble named Sabu, son of Pharaoh Anajib, who ruled during Egypt's first dynasty over 5,000 years ago. Among the expected funerary items, ceramics, stone vessels, copper tools, was something else, something no one could quite explain. It was a disk. Shaped from a single piece of schist, a fragile, brittle stone, the object measured just over 1/2 meter across. At first glance, it looked like a bowl, but it had 3 sharply curved lobes, almost like the blades of a fan or propeller, extending from a central hub. It didn't resemble anything else from ancient Egyptian craftsmanship. No inscriptions, no symbols. Just an uncanny symmetry and a design that seemed somehow out of place. Archaeologists cataloged it, studied it, and theories multiplied. Some said it was a ceremonial incense holder. Others proposed it was a stand for vessels, or a symbolic object with no practical purpose. But none of these explanations fit cleanly. Today the disk is housed in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, labeled simply as a stone vessel. But it remains one of the most debated artifacts from ancient Egypt. A 5,000-year-old riddle, carved in stone and shaped like nothing else from its time. In 1878, near the coast of Aotea Harbor on New Zealand's North Island, a storm toppled a manuka tree. Beneath its tangled roots, something was buried, something that shouldn't have been there. It was a bird, carved from dark green serpentine, sleek and smooth. The figure was unmistakably avian, long-beaked, elegant, almost creepy in its precision. The people who found it had never seen anything like it. No one had. They called it Korotangi, the crying bird. But to the local people, the Tainui Maori, it was no accident. Oral tradition spoke of a bird brought from Hawaii, the spiritual homeland, aboard the great Tainui Waka, a sacred companion, a carved treasure that mourned when separated from its people. The carving, they said, was not just symbolic. It was real. A taonga lost to time, now returned. But Korotangi's mystery didn't stop there. Experts examining the artifact were puzzled. The smooth precision of the carving suggested the use of metal tools that the Maori, prior to European contact, simply didn't possess. And the style didn't match anything else from Polynesian culture. No known oceanic carving bore its shape or form. It looked foreign. Some speculated it might have come from Southeast Asia. Others hinted at even more distant origins. But no definitive link was ever found. After its discovery, Korotangi passed through several hands, from private collectors to the Dominion Museum in Wellington. And then, over a century later, in 1995, it was returned. Not to a museum, but to the people who had long claimed it as their own. Today it rests at Turangawaywai Marae, home of the Maori king, a sacred space, and a living center of the Kangitanga movement. It is not just a relic, it is a presence, a question, a symbol. Korotangi is still a bird out of time, and perhaps it's still crying. Not from sorrow, but from the weight of a story that still holds mysteries.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fireside Unsolved. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time, take it easy and be easy, you filthy bastards.